And then moving on to the syringes. The first one, which is morning and night, I'll have 2 IUs of GH in the morning and then 2 IUs on the night. And then in this, there is a mix of
What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about Brandon Harding's recent off-season protocol outline. So it was pretty brief, but a lot of people sent this to me, probably because I've covered his pre-contest cycle in the past and touched on his comments on GH usage. So he kind of laid out his supplement stack today, and transparently, you know, like good on him, he laid out his anabolics plan too. So I'm just gonna be reacting to it and getting kind of my first-hand reactions to what exactly he's taking now. Let's see if it is in line with what I, you know, would recommend to, or what I think makes sense.
Pretty much all the pills I have in the morning. And then moving on to the syringes. The first one, which is morning and night, I'll have 2 IUs of GH in the morning and then 2 IUs on the night.
Okay, so he says he's having 2 IUs of GH in the morning and 2 IUs at night. So as far as that timing goes, there's nothing that wrong with it, realistically. Like, frankly, if I was to pick certain times myself, I guess it would depend what I'm trying to, what vector I'm trying to kind of like own in on the most. If it was trying to be recovery and muscle growth, like obviously before bed, when you've kind of provided that negative feedback of the GH-IGF-1 axis, you're going to be shutting down your natural endogenous production pretty substantially. So putting in, you know, one of your doses pre-bed makes a lot of sense. As far as the second dose of 2 IU, right in the morning, if it was pre-fasted cardio and you were using it to stimulate lipolysis to burn a bit of extra fat during a fasted cardio session, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. I don't know if he's doing fasted cardio after using it, or if he's just pinning it and then doing nothing. But if you're doing nothing after pinning GH, you might just be redistributing fat throughout your body, which is, you know, anytime you pin GH, ideally, if it's for a lipolytic benefit rather than in a growth capacity, which is, you know, when you would pin it pre-bed, if you were trying to leverage the lipolysis kind of benefits you can get out of it, ideally it would be pre some sort of activity. So if you're just, you know, pinning it when you wake up and then doing fucking nothing and sitting at your computer, it's not really ideal, when you could be using it, you know, like pre-workout or something like that. So if it were me, if he's doing cardio, then this makes a lot of sense. If he wasn't, I would probably allocate it to pre-workout personally, but that's just me. But other than that, it's not like that nonsensical. He's using 4 IUs a day. That's not, you know, like astronomical by any means. It's probably, if he has high quality GH and he has a decent IGF-1 response, it's probably going to put him at, you know, like 600 plus IGF-1, which is more than enough to get what you're trying to get out of it. In an IGF-1 context, and from a lipolysis context, it's more than enough too. So that's kind of my stance on the GH dosage. You could probably argue that he might be better off not using it on an everyday basis, but that's another video for another time that I should put on my to-do list. But anyways, let's keep going here.
And then in this, there is a mix of Test E and Primo. My Test is currently at 600 and my Primo is at 300. These, as well as the GH, 2 IUs in the morning, 2 IUs at night, are the only anabolics that I'm currently taking. The Test and the Primo, I'll split that up 3 times a week.
Okay, so he talks about how he's doing 600 Test E, 300 Primo, which and he's doing it 3 times a week, which is basically, you know, pinning every other day, which is, you know, a decent frequency of administration. And it's not that bad, realistically. Like, a lot of people are probably expecting me to shit on this guy, but Test and Primo is a pretty, you know, standard, well, I shouldn't say standard, because a lot of bodybuilders don't want to shell out the money for Primo or don't even have access to it to begin with. But as far as, you know, adding a tissue selective anabolic on top of your testosterone base that is skewed more in the direction of just pure protein expression and tissue selective anabolic activity with a relative lack of androgenicity, or, you know, lack of interaction with aromatase and whatnot, like, you know, Primo makes a lot of sense. It's, you know, well tolerated, upwards of 1,000 milligrams per week plus. In the clinical literature, it is one of the most refined anabolics that was ever created. It's one of the most recent ones, hence why it's the most refined too. It is basically these chemicals were just tweaked over and over again until they got more and more tissue selective and more acclimated to, you know, achieving the target endpoints that they were looking to get out of these things in a clinical context. And Primo is right up there with one of the, you know, like end stage, like top tier anabolics. So from the DHC derivative category for a bodybuilder, I've talked about this before, how for pure muscle accrual, hypertrophy, Primo makes a lot of sense to stack on top of testosterone, and testosterone being probably the ideal base for the majority of people from the testosterone / testosterone derivatives category of the anabolic steroid family tree as well, for fulfilling that estrogen component that you would otherwise need to fulfill via some vector if you are shutting down your endogenous androgen production, which would otherwise facilitate adequate estrogen production. So, test base in there. He has 600 milligrams. Some might argue like, oh, use less test and use more Primo instead. Frankly, well, he didn't mention if he's using an AI yet, but if you can get away with more test before you have to stack Primo on top of that, and you don't have any, significant DHT related side effects, you don't have any estrogenic side effects that are, warrant either inhibiting aromatase, using some sort of adjunct ancillary, which would otherwise be cardio and neurotoxic and inhibit your hypertrophy outcomes as well. Push the test is fucking, it makes more sense to push the test more. It's bioidentical. Your body knows exactly what to do with it. And if you can tolerate it up to 600 milligrams without needing to add on additional anabolics on top of it that are, not substrates for 5-AR or aromatase, then like by all fucking means, like it makes a lot of sense to push the test higher, as high as you can, until you really reach the realm of, okay, I either need to implement an AI here, or I need to reel it back a bit and start to look at adjunct anabolics to stack on top of it before I have to get into the territory of exposing myself to unnecessary drugs just to push my test to a higher dosage to continue breaking plateaus kind of thing. So presumably he has no AI, but let's just continue and listen to him and see what he says.
Quick disclaimer as well, because I know on YouTube some people can take things the wrong way. This is by no means me promoting the use of anabolic steroids. I do not recommend it. The reason I'm showing you what I'm taking is because I'm trying to be transparent and showing you everything I'm doing to get to a pro level of bodybuilding. If you are thinking about it, please talk to your doctor first. You may be blessed with extremely high natural test levels, and you don't even need to take anything because you haven't exhausted your natural potential yet. I'm not going to talk too much about it. All I'm here to say is that I do not promote it. I don't recommend it. I'm only being transparent because I want you to know the reality of what I'm currently going through, and that the progress I'm going to make on the off season right now isn't natural, and I don't want to set any false expectations for people to think that they can get the same results. Regardless, this is what the current morning supplementation is looking like.
Okay, so that was pretty decent explanation. He, transparent. He's not trying to act like he's some preacher of like information of what to do or what not to do. He's just trying to, make clear what he's doing so people don't take it the wrong way. Honestly, this is a pretty good introduction. Like he pretty much just showed what he fucking did, and that was it. So it's kind of take from that what you will. You know what I mean? I'm gonna rewind it a bit and see if he mentioned an AI in the pills. But if he didn't, then let's see. I'll comment after.
First off, we have Vita HD, which is a multivitamin. One serving is 5 tablets.
Do people all say vitamin like that across the pond, or whatever the fuck you say? Multivitamin. It sounds, I probably say shit fucked up all the time, but I would say vitamin. Is that not correct? As a Canadian, does vitamin sound weird? Multivitamin.
Next, we have Burn HD. Now, I know this is a fat burner, but that's not the reason I take it right now. It's really good at elevating mood and energy, and also it has really good cortisol control. And anything HG Muscle, you can use code HARDBODY at the checkout to save yourself 10% off your order. Next, we have omega-3 fish oil. I'll have 2 of these, 2,000 milligrams. Then we have vitamin D3. There is no sunshine in the UK right now, and I'll have 1 tablet, which is 4,000 IUs. Pretty much all the pills I have in the morning.
That's it. So he doesn't even take an AI, according to him, or he's just skipping over it. But that's, surprising. Most of these, coaches who, frankly, I don't know who's coaches, but I mean, most of the time, coaches will haphazardly give out AIs because they haven't really caught up on the clinical literature to see what makes sense and what doesn't fucking make sense anymore. So, if he's not taking an AI and he can tolerate up to 600 milligrams of test before even needing to stack anything on top of it, that's pretty impressive. So he obviously is one of the blessed individuals who tolerates a significant amount of aromatization pretty well. His actual metabolism of sex hormones is probably pretty spot on, because some guys I know who are like at the point where even like a high normal TRT dose, like a borderline super physiological dose, they need to, you know, split up their administration frequency to every other day, or even as frequent as every day. Otherwise, they end up with estrogenic side effects, even with a, you know, double-digit E2 level. Whereas for him, like, his E2's probably in the fucking hundreds, and he's fine. So, you know, it just goes to show individual, what's the word? Variability between individuals, individual specific things. His sex hormone metabolism is such that it lets him get away with a higher dose of test. And, you know, in his situation, it makes a lot of sense. And on top of that, when you start to get above and beyond, you know, I'm kind of just regurgitating what I said earlier. But this is a pretty reasonable stack. Like, some might argue that he's using too much. You're getting close to a gram per week in an off season for but you know, he's getting bigger. He's a classic physique guy who's trying to go pro. If he's plateaued, you know, these dosages aren't obscene. There's people doing a lot worse than this. And frankly, this isn't that crazy of a cycle. Like, this is pretty reasonable, I would say. So anyways, that's my overall stance on it. Frankly, I think it looks pretty good, as long as he is staying on top of his blood pressure, staying on top of his very basic biomarkers and whatnot, staying on top of his blood, staying on top of his echocardiography ideally as well, and stuff like that. I don't know if he has an ARB or an ACE inhibitor or something on hand to kind of handle the cardiovascular stress while he goes through this off-season period, but that is something I would probably look to incorporate as a means of risk management going into a, you know, this guy's probably pushing, you know, like 220, 230 pounds now. And when you have this much body weight, lean body weight, that's putting a lot of stress on your body and demands a lot of oxygen and blood. And then above and beyond that, using almost a gram of gear plus a very reasonable dose of GH, if it's high quality GH, you're starting to put a lot of taxing your heart quite a bit. And that is where something like a telmisartan would probably come into play and act as a means of attenuating the damage to some extent, which is what I would recommend integrating into the cycle. If I was his coach, or if he's watching this, then I would recommend you incorporate some telmisartan, dude. So potentially look at metformin too, is what I would look at. Or you just keep an eye on your fasting glucose too. I don't even know if you're gonna fucking watch this, but if you do, this is what I do. So anyways, take from that what you will. Buy a fasting glucose monitor too, dude, because GH every day, you know, it's going to get to you eventually if you're doing it for your whole off season, where you're pounding carbs, pounding 4 IUs of GH on a daily basis. Yeah, it would, I don't know. I think it would be prudent to at least have a glucose monitor on hand to keep an eye on it, and kind of assess your body's ability to get back to, you know, a reasonable glucose level after postprandial, and see kind of what your responses, your insulin resistance levels are like, and stuff like that. Just keep an eye on that shit. So anyways, that is what I would recommend. So take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com, if you want to see my written deep dives into bodybuilding pharmacology. They're far more in-depth and frankly easier to follow than my videos, I think. And these are, I don't publish them often, but when I do, these articles are, you know, like top tier. Like, you think my videos are good, my fucking articles shit on my videos. So these are basically they are broken down into table of contents with concise subsections, and every single study that I reference is hyperlinked for you to delve into further yourself for your own personal research. In whichever sentence I happen to mention a study, it's like hyperlinked right there. You can click on it and go through it while you're reading. And it's very helpful in my opinion. And everything's like proofread by myself like 50 fucking times before I publish it. So it's just an overall like more comprehensive approach to whatever topic I'm trying to talk about in the written format. So there's some incentive to sign up for that, because you're not going to get sent those articles if you don't sign up to the newsletter. It's the first link in the description below. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, if you are seeking hormone optimization, testosterone replacement therapy in any context, reach out to them. Patient care coordinators will look at your blood work, address any imbalances or deficiencies from A to Z, refer you to our doctors over FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, telemedicine. It's all from the comfort of your own home, so it's pretty convenient in my opinion. It's the way of the future. So once you get a hold of get on the call with one of our doctors, they will make a personalized protocol for you if warranted, based on your overall a comprehensive approach to your health optimization, and make a personalized medications list for you, and tailor the dosages just for you. There's no cookie cutter bullshit. 200 milligrams of test and here's a milligram of Arimidex, none of that bullshit. If you want a high quality care, especially for TRT, I highly recommend you reach out to them, and you can save $50 off your first order of HRT with the coupon code MPMD50. And if you want to support Gorilla Mode, Gorilla Mind, my turnkey nootropic formulas for focus, productivity, creativity, pretty much anything and everything that has to do with staying locked in on a daily basis and getting more productive hours out of your working hours, then I would recommend checking those out. These are the same formulas I kind of tinkered around with in university and now use in my working hours to help me squeeze some more productive hours out of the day. And then the turnkey pre-workout formulas, obviously self-explanatory what pre-workouts are, but I encourage you to go pull out your pre, like literally get up, go to the counter, go to your cupboard, wherever the fuck you keep it, pick up the pre, bring it back to the computer or on your phone or whatever you're watching on. Look at the label on Gorilla Mode, compare the dosages of L-citrulline, compare the glycerol, compare the everything, the cognitive enhancing components, the NO precursors, the hyperhydrating agents, the plasma expanders, the everything. Gorilla Mode, the hybrid formula, is the most comprehensive pre-workout on the market. And then the stimulant-free formula is even more maxed out in the NO precursor and hyperhydrating vector and has no stimulants or cognitive enhancing elements though. So you can use it at nighttime, or if you just want the maxed out performance, you can get that. It is frankly, the most topped out pre-workout on the entire market, in my opinion, bar none. And then the third product, which is more recent, is Gorilla Mode Stim. And this is just the cognitive enhancing component of Gorilla Mode, basically isolated and inflated to an even more significant degree. We doubled the tyrosine, doubled the kanna, increased the caffeine, increased the N-phenyl dimethylamine citrate. It's just maxed out for all the stim junkies out there, or for those who just want a cost-effective pre-workout that does not have any of the pump products, essentially. And anything else I'm associated with, video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.